White House officials are gearing up for a comeback as 45th President Trump maintains a healthy lead in the race for the White House. One America's Chanel Rion has more from Washington.
We bring on a former top White House official, former member of the DOJ, former top prosecutor. This is Kash Patel. He just wrote a book called Government Gangsters, and it really lays out who's who in the so-called deep state. Kash, what an honor to have you back on. You are one of the few voices out there, I think, who can accurately describe the so-called deep state. That's a term that's thrown around a lot. Tell the audience why it's so important to understand what the deep state is.
Yeah, I wish I didn't write a book called Government Gangsters and How to Beat the Deep State. I wish neither existed. And the deep state is no longer this quiet, surreptitious, clandestine, small group of people. It's out there in your face. It's almost like a badge of honor to the radical left ideologues and the rhino entrenchment class that are trying to take away our government from we the people. So, yes, there's an index of deep state government gangsters in the back of my book. I do name them. There's probably 50-50. Maybe I name more Republicans than Democrats. But the point is, it's not calling you out for the sake of calling you out and trying to go make money. You failed. You, Christopher Wray. You, Merrick Garland. You, Mark Esper. Gina Haspel. You, Lisa Monaco. John Carlin. Mary McCord. So many other people who got together and said, we have to get rid of President Trump at all costs. We'll break the law during Russiagate. We'll do it again during Hunter Biden's laptop. We'll do it again on the cover-up of the 51 Intel letter. Ukraine impeachment 1, 2, just to name a few things that they've come up with. But the key is, unless you educate America that the deep state is not a right-wing conspiracy, they're just going to assume to what they see on CNN. We need the rest of America to obliterate the deep state, and that's the mission of the book.
You say at first glance, the deep state can seem to be everywhere and nowhere all at once. How do you fight an enemy like that?
We have to bring on every American that is willing to fight to save our country. It's the only way. Certainly, it's not getting cured in the halls of Congress.
Another thing you brought up in the book that stood out to me is you said right now, Democrats and the deep state are on the same team. For most people who follow this stuff, they would agree with that. But you say only a fool could imagine that this will remain this way. You think that the deep state will actually turn on the Democrats too. That seems like what you're saying.
Yeah, I think the deep state is probably the only apolitical mission left in Washington, D.C. It used to be national security, federal, law enforcement, intelligence, and stuff like that, pretty much down the main line for all Americans. But we've seen it here. I mean, just give your audience a reminder, the deep state. Trump's own administration, Rod Rosenstein, agreed to wear a wire under the 25th Amendment because the FBI, Comey, and McCabe told him to do that because Donald Trump had, quote unquote, broken the law. We now know the DOJ and FBI were the ones that broke the law. They don't care that you're an R or D. They certainly don't care if you're an R or D in the defense industrial complex. They just care on how do we continue the cyclical cycle that is the self-licking ice cream that is Washington, D.C. I'll give you a perfect example. Gina Haspel, Donald Trump's CIA director. Rod Rosenstein, former DOJ guy, and Chris Wray, current FBI guy. Those latter two helped cover up Russiagate and unlawfully surveilled me. Gina Haspel was CIA station chief when Russiagate was launched. She had to authorize that launching of that investigation in London because she was the head of the intel community there. Do you know where Gina Haspel and Rod Rosenstein work today? At Chris Wray's old law firm. You just can't make it up. It's the entrenchment. This is why Americans hate D.C. Not only do they screw up government and take our taxpayer dollars to screw it up, they then give themselves golden parachutes just as long as the cycle keeps continuing. And this is why people like Bill Barr are blasted in government gangsters, because they care more about institutional saving face than they do about fixing the institution of justice.
Every time a country, a nation, a civilization gets big, powerful, there is this habit that we have that the big and the powerful tend to get corrupt very fast, and they tend to start to ignore the little people. They ignore the people they supposedly represent. So you could say that this is a problem as old as time. How do you define this fight differently from the kinds of power struggles that have existed in past?
I think this is almost a modernization of it, right? They have so many more tools, the deep state and the government gangsters, to get out there and go continue their lines of disinformation, whether it's on social media, whether it's in TV, whether it's in print. But then they couple that, and I think what they didn't have back in the day was, there was a smaller contingent of wealth that ran Washington, D.C. for a long time. Now, everybody's sort of scraping at that contingent of wealth and getting seven-figure paydays, as long as they are okay with putting them up on a pedestal. I think the important takeaway for your audience is just think about what they've done that you don't know about going into the 2025 election cycle.
Again, a much needed book. It talks all about what the deep state is, where they are operating, who they are. You had that whole list in the back. It was fascinating. It's a great read. I hope our audience grabs a copy of it. Kash, thank you so much for the update, and we'll check in with you soon, see what the feedback has been.
For all our viewers asking where One America News is heading in the future, we would like to introduce you to OAN Live. OAN Live is the best way to stay up to date on all of the hard-hitting, straight-shooting, national and international headlines. And the best part is, OAN Live is only $4.99 per month. All the credible, honest, unbiased reporting One America News offers at a fraction of the cost of cable. Just go to OANN.com to easily sign up for OAN Live and stay informed.